And hello, my name is Martin, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be applying damage to the enemy projectiles. So far we've applied damage to a homing missile, we've applied damage to the stationary mine, we've seen where it differs as far as where we place it and what types of effects we want. We also saw that, we had issues with our projectile and what that meant for how damage was being applied to us, whether we were shooting things. Anyways, so you can watch the other videos for all that. Today, what we want to do is, like I said, we want to put an enemy out on the floor. We want them to shoot a projectile. We want that projectile that when it hits us and only us to causes damage. So what we're going to do this is I'm going to put the rotating enemy down, since I don't really feel like chasing an enemy down for the video tutorials. This way I can always be the same distance from them and they will be shooting at me. So as far as the character is concerned itself, the damage code is not going to be in the character unless of course we run into them and they also causes damage. So there could in this kind of an enemy, you have the projectile that could be causing us damage, and then also proximity to the enemy. Like, let's say just being close enough to it means that we would also be losing energy, right? So we could set it up just like we did with the exploding mine, where we set up a collision box around the mine, and when we walk into it as a pawn, it causes us damage. Or in this situation where we're just going to have it do the rotating or have the weapon or the ball do it. So two places that you can apply damage code. The one thing that we are going to have to do, however, is find the ammunition that this character is using. And if I'm not mistaken, it is the projectile or the rotating projectile. Let me get that off the screen. The rotating projectile. And so just to double check, we're going to double click on the character. We'll open up its editor, its blueprint editor. And then from there, we're going to spawn actor rotating projectile. And we'll see that the class or the spawn actor is the rotating projectile. So that is the name of the projectile that we're using, and so this is the one that we want to use. Now I'm going to go ahead and make well, you know what, let's just go ahead and use it. There's already a few things, so let me delete that, and let's delete that. And okay, so we're back to where we were. So let me hit compile and save. So right now, if this thing hit us, it would cause no damage to us. So just like I said earlier, where we had to create a special capsule or a collision box that would give us, or collision box. Yeah, a box collision that would give us the ability for our pawn to be hit, but not the projectile because it's named the way it is. What we're going to do here is we're going to set up another one, but we're going to set it up around the ball, because if we try to change because there is a collision component here. The only problem is this collision component is attached to everything that the ball is doing. So if we were to go here and switch this from what it is right now to something else, then we would have a problem. So we would have things not work correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually go and add a component, and we're going to scroll down until we get to the collisions. I think I went past them. There they are. And we do have a box collision, a capsule collision, and a sphere collision. Capsule or sphere is fine. I'm actually going to select capsule because I want to show you something. Capsule just means that the other thing we'll do, well, I'll tell you what it means in a second, but what we'll do first is we'll name it. So we'll say first person underscore collision, and that'll be the name of the box. So we now have the collision component and the FP, or the first person collision box. We're going to set its settings here in just a moment, but I just want you to see that it actually comes in and it's got a kind of like a tube shape to it, like a pill. Like a Tylenol shape something. So like a capsule. That's why it's called a capsule. From there, what we can do is we're going to select this capsule, and if we scroll down far enough, actually I think it's up here, we go to shape and we see the capsule half height is 44. If we make this 22, we get a sphere, Because if the width and the height of the sphere are the same, then it's a circle. So if those two numbers are the same, we get the circle. We see that this circle is slightly bigger than the circle that's inside. So the red circle is going to be the collision component. The yellow circle is, or yeah, that light beige colored circle, the one that's highlighted right now, is the FP collision. So this one, we can change the collision settings and it won't affect anything in the code that's already written. So first thing we'll do is we'll switch this to custom. And with this, we want to ensure that we get a collision response out of it. So we want to make sure that query and physics is turned on. So overlap event needs to be turned on. Custom needs to be turned on. Query and physics needs to be turned on. The type doesn't matter at this moment. We want this sphere to ignore everything except for pawn. So that way, when this ball hits us, it's going to cause the damage that we're going to write into this code. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and hit compile to get that part going. And now we're going to go to the event graph. So in the event graph, this is where we're going to apply the damage. So same thing like we did with all the other ones. We're going to go to the FP collision. We're going to make sure that that's selected. With it selected, we're going to right click in the blueprint panel. That is going to open up if we have content sensitive on. It's going to go to add event FP collision, go to collision, and then we're going to say on event begin overlap. So when we, as the pawn, overlap with FP collision, we will then cause the damage. So from here, we need to make this go to the first person. So, oh, come on. Cast to first person, right? Cast to. That's what happens when you try to do it from memory, right? So cast to first person. The object type is going to be us. So we're going to get player character. We're going to make sure that the 0 is the index because that is us as the first person player. From there, the next thing that we're going to do is we need to apply the damage. So we're going to click out of the execute and say apply damage, damage. And from there, we're going to make the first person the object that's applying, that's getting the damage applied to, and then the base damage is going to be, let's say this is a projectile. It's going to be shooting quite a bit of them at us, so we don't want to put a large number there because if we get only just a few shots, we would die quickly. So I'm going to put a number of 2 in there, and with this, we took care of the collision settings. So to recap, right? We opened up the first person, the rotating projectile ball, the actual ammunition. We added a additional capsule, collision capsule. We made sure that it was larger than the capsule that was already there. From there, we went into its collision settings, went yes to an overlap, custom, query physics, doesn't matter, at least not in this respect. Everything's ignore except for pawn, so that when it overlaps with a pawn, it will cast the first person player 2 points of damage. So let's go ahead and hit compile and save, and let's see if this works. Oh, I also want to make sure that my rotating enemy is I think we checked that already. Yes. I didn't, sorry, I thought I had made an extra ball instead of just redoing the one I had. So let's go ahead and push play. Okay, so I'm going to walk up. Okay, so we have a problem. So the problem is, let's say rotating ball, first person collision It's ignoring everything. Ah, I know what I did. Okay, so the object type does matter, and the reason why is because we need it to be something else, because right now the world static is touching these two when they touch, and that's causing that this code to be activated every time it touches something. Because maybe one of these is labeled as a pawn. Yeah. So within the object, it's every time a ball was created, it was causing us damage because the capsule collision was labeled as pawn, and that's what we said we wanted the first person capsule to be interacting with. So what we actually need to do is, just like our own projectiles, we went in there and we created a first person _ projectile class, object class. We're going to do the same thing for enemy projectiles. So we're going to go to settings, we're going to go to project settings, and underneath collision, we're going to create this new enemy _ projectile. So remember that to do that, you go to new object channel, you type in the name that you want, you select a default response for all the presets that are out there already, in this case just block, and then when you're done you hit accept. So when that's done, you should have something that looks like this: enemy _ projectile, it's set to block, and we hit accept. Okay, once that's done, we can close. We can go back to the rotating projectiles, the rotating projectile itself, go to FP collision. We no longer want that to be with pawn. We do want this to be, no, I'm sorry, that is going to be pawn, but this is not going to be a world overlap. This should be enemy projectile. So rotating projectile hits this. So let's hit compile and save. Okay, so let's go ahead and test and see if that works now. So we're gonna go and push play. And let's see if, so if I stand over here in the corner, we see that nothing, it's not firing at us. We're going to stand out in front of it now. We're going to get hit. Every time we get hit, we get not. And I want to see if it actually still happens. So I'm trying to avoid being hit. And yeah. So when the ball goes by us, it doesn't hurt us. So that means it's bouncing off of something else and it's not causing us damage. Okay, and there we go. So now we have it working, and that's everything that we needed. So we now have the enemy projectile, which is causing us damage, 2 points every time it hits us, and now you have working projectiles that you can cause damage that won't cause damage when they bounce on something else. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.